How's it going? I'm Resident of Colin for YouTube, joined by my buddy Mark Gillman, joined by my buddy Daniel Culver. Guys, how are you?
I'm good.
Doing great. Ready to talk Friday.
We're here on a Michael Myers Monday, and we're going to talk Friday the 13th. And yes, we will accept our punishment in hell.
All
No.
right.
Oh God! But especially if we have a Judah Zachary Bible laying around. But this is really interesting to me. Where Halloween isn't a whodunit, Friday the 13th is. So, what did you guys think about that when you first saw this?
I I actually kind of knew, that Pamela was the killer because I read into it. Like
Yeah,
I hate to admit this, but I actually saw the sequels before the first one. You know how that goes. But I
yeah,
actually like the idea of Mrs. Voorhees. Well, I mean, I know for those that are confused, she was actually credited as Mrs. Voorhees, but Jewel is right. Her name is actually Pamela Voorhees.
yep. That's weird too. Like, you're right. She's credited as Mrs. Voorhees, but like, well, I'll get into that. Go ahead, Mark.
Um, I'm kind of like Daniel was. I didn't see this. I didn't start getting into horror until I was in my mid to late 20s, and I mean, a lot of Halloween and stuff like that. So I remember going to movie gallery and renting the DVD to Friday the 13th because I was excited. I was wanting to watch it for the first time. And I was telling some of my buddies that I worked with that I had rented it on my lunch and I was going to go home and watch the movie. And they were like, "Oh, yeah, man, you're going to love it when you see Pamela Voorhees as the killer." And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "You just spoiled it for me." I was like, "Yeah, it's over 25 years old, but you spoiled it for me." But I mean, I watched it. Thanks to that guy, Grant. If you're ever watching this, um, yeah, I really, I've still had a good time watching this, and it shocked me, that she could be this, that she had this hunting skill and prowess to do all the things that she was doing. It was pretty amazing. If he wouldn't have spoiled it, I never would have guessed. I would have thought that it was Jason.
Yeah, it's really. I think that's the really most interesting thing with this is Pamela Voorhees, Mrs. Voorhees, as Daniel said, and he's right too. Like they do refer to her as Mrs. Voorhees. She was originally the camp cook all those years ago when Jason allegedly drowned. Um, but I'd ask you guys on Twitter, do you guys think that Pamela Voorhees stuck around after Jason had allegedly drowned, as we'll say? And yes, I'm using air quotes for the hell of it. But what do you guys think? Do you think Pamela stuck around after Jason drowned, Daniel?
I think she probably actually like resigned from that job
Yeah.
or quit. And
Yeah.
but I do think she was the one like poisoning the water and stuff. Basically I think she was you know going to doing stuff to the camp to make sure it stayed shut down.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I agree. I think she was, sabotaging it. But in my mind, and I threw this crazy, fan theory out there. I was thinking that Crazy Ralph was Jason's father, and I believe that they were kind of working together to keep people from, reopening the camp. And Ralph would warn everybody and try to scare them off. And if that didn't work, then Pamela was the punishment.
Yeah. It's so weird because the only representation we get of the Christie family is Steve.
Yeah.
And so I take it's funny. I'm going to sort of jump back and forth, so please humor me. There's you have Steve Christie, who later tells the one kitchen lady that the people who are literally babes in the woods, but yet he leaves them there to do the work. And it lets me know, well, Steve Christie is a trusting guy. Like, he trusts his employees for the most part. So I got to believe that was Steve's parents too. I'm not convinced that Pamela quit after her son drowned. I think she stuck around, and she did things that she couldn't be directly accused of. And really, how do you, if like the water's poisoned, there were cabin fires, I think there was probably equipment sabotage, we'll say. I know they don't say about it, but there probably was. So if all that's happening and it's something any employee could do, the Christies probably didn't even really accuse anybody. They just probably chalked it up to bad luck until the two murders happened. Well, there's two camp counselors who were trying to have sex get murdered. Because if you notice, they say, oh, we weren't doing anything wrong. It's like, well, why would you worry about it if it was somebody who didn't work there, who couldn't get you in trouble? That's the thing that tells me Pamela might have stuck around. It's little. I mean, it's very minuscule, but I do think she stuck around. And I think once the murders happened, well, then everybody's looking at the Christies like, you can't even guarantee our safety. We're out of here.
Yeah.
Because once murders, it's one thing for water to be poisoned, for fires to happen, or equipment to malfunction, but murder is a whole nother thing. And I think what really hurt the Christies too is probably a wrongful death lawsuit by the parents of the camp counselors who were murdered, and they had to sell the camp to the son or just give it to him because they had no money left. And well, he came into play, and we hear from the truck driver, oh, he'll end up crazy and broke like his folks. Do I think they went? Well, here, do you guys think Christie, Steve Christie's folks went crazy?
I never thought about that. I guess it's possible, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. Yeah, like Daniel said, I mean, I guess it's a possibility, but I guess they, I guess small town that they probably would have said something about it, and you know, because they had no problem calling Ralph out on his crazy. So I'm not really sure.
Ralph wasn't crazy. He was just special.
Yeah, exactly. I say in my house all the time, talking about my kitty cat, Ralph.
Ralph, Prophet of Doom. Yep, that's the cat too. He's the Prophet of Doom.
Yep.
I'll say this, that I'm with you guys. I'm not really sure if they were crazy. I do think they went broke because they had to sell the camp. But that's the one thing too, where this movie really separates itself from Halloween. That's the one thing I noticed really well. Sure, it's a slasher, but its story is not the same. Its concept is not the same. Hell, its location is not the same. And it does the one thing Halloween did not do. Halloween did not do a whodunit. We knew who was doing the murdering, Michael. But here we don't know. And I watched this as a kid because my mother threw this in for me and my brother. Oh, you guys got to watch this. It's really good. Okay. It's a woman. I remember my brother. It's a goddamn woman.
Yep, it was a middle-aged woman. I mean, and that was like totally groundbreaking back then because we hadn't seen anything like that. And she, like, when she first appeared, she was just so friendly and like maternal, and just seemed like, just kind of a nice lady.
Yeah, I agree with Mark. Like, she seemed like a nice lady you definitely wouldn't expect her to be the killer, at first glance.
Mm-hmm.
No, you wouldn't. That's the beautiful part too. And I think I had heard they originally wanted the woman who played the maid in the Brady Bunch, Alice. I heard
Mm-hmm.
they had reached out to her, but she turned it down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's weird if you watch a western called The Tin Star that stars Henry Fonda. There's there's Betsy Palmer in it. Betsy Palmer's in that movie, and um, God, I'm gonna kick myself. Oh, what's his name? I'm gonna freaking the guy who played Norman Bates is stars in that movie.
Oh,
But
Anthony Perkins.
yeah, Anthony Perkins, because Fonda teaches his character how to be a sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
So plot centers around Perkins's character, and it's a really good movie. But it's funny to think you hear often enough that Western stars ended up in horror. That's very much true.
Mm.
So she was also on Broadway. She played Peter Pan, which is why you hear the voice where she's doing the kid's voice, "Help me, help me,"
Mm-hmm.
which is really, really great by Betsy Palmer. What
Yes.
What did you guys think of Kevin Bacon in this movie?
Oh yeah. Actually, to be honest, I hate to admit this. I was surprised he was in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a surprise to me. Even though the movie was spoiled, I was like, "That's the guy from Footloose. That's Kevin Bacon." And you hear him talking, and he sounds kind of southern. It's you could tell he's fresh out of he's fresh into the acting thing. So it was kind of funny and cool getting to see Kevin Bacon. But I think his death was my favorite death in the movie. So
it's
that
every male's favorite death because let's be honest, every woman wants to be with Kevin Bacon.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was a pretty gruesome death he got.
Right.
Mhm.
That's another thing that shocked me too. Like you weren't. I wasn't. I mean, I know it's the '80s, but this movie really is to me just smashed it in the teeth with the gore, the
Mhm.
axe to the head, the arrow through the throat.
Mhm.
Even like the kills they don't show you, and when they show you the woman who they show you the one guy who's shot full of arrows, and it's
Mhm.
like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
what what was you guys' favorite scene in this movie?
My favorite scene. I'm gonna go with when Mrs. Voorhees. I keep. Sorry, I called her that again. When Pamela got decapitated by Alice.
Nice.
What about you, Mark?
For me, I think it's I'm going to have to say it's when Pamela first shows up and she goes into the cabin and she's talking to Alice, and then you hear. Now I know like everybody has like an interpretation, but it's always sounded to me like she hears kill, 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 ma, 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 ma. And when she starts hearing that, or like it makes that noise, like mimicking, I guess, a voice in her head, you can see her turn and switch. And she starts getting angry and telling the story of Jason. And you could tell that right then that something is wrong,
Yeah.
very wrong. So Betsy Palmer sold that scene like she was perfect.
If there was ever a performance that deserved an Oscar nomination, Betsy's is it. But
Because she turned like 180 on a dime.
yep, it. I really love my favorite scene. Though you don't see Pamela, involves Steve Christie, and he's walking up the road, and a flashlight shines, and this lets you know that the killer was somebody they trusted. Here's Christy. Oh, it's you. What are you doing out in this mess? And he's walking toward them,
Mm-hmm.
He's not afraid. Doesn't say, "Oh, you're a killer," and boom, he gets it, and it's like, son of a bitch. It's so
Yeah.
good. It's a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
But how great was Betsy Palmer, guys, in this movie?
I think she did a pretty good job.
Yeah,
Oh, I think what little she was in the movie, for me, she made the movie.
yeah,
She stole it for me.
yeah. She really does. I mean, she's not shown a hell, and the scenes you get with her. There's a Jeep scene with the girl who gets out of the oil. I want to say it's an oil truck.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And she's walking, and then this Jeep picks her up. Now we know Steve Christie's in a Jeep. At first, I thought this was Steve Christie picking her up,
Mm-hmm.
and that's sort of where I think they do this on purpose, like the filmmakers, to
Mm-hmm.
sort of fool you. But and they do this in. I love how they do this in first person. The driver's looking at her, and it's so you can't tell who it is, but you can if you want to draw your own conclusions, you can.
Mm-hmm.
And what a scene! She gets out and she slits her throat, but really good job by Betsy Palmer in that scene, just not talking, just not saying anything. I mean,
Yeah.
they're doing everything in this movie not to reveal their killer,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it was, Friday the 13th prior to Scream was a bit of ahead of its time. I mean, there's other whodunits,
Mm-hmm.
but not quite like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what did you guys think of the? Oh, sorry, were you going to say something? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I agree. And to jump on that, I thought it was kind of neat because that girl. I would say that we got to know her um, better than any of the other camp counselors because she was talking about her past, how she grew up, and how she always wanted to work with kids, and she was talking about her family and stuff. And it's like you're getting to know this person, and you kind of understand with her and think, oh, that's nice, she wants to work with kids and all this and that. And it's like, nope, cut her throat, she's out of here. So I mean, it's just like, wow, you just killed someone that you're setting up to be the main character. So this the rules are broken at this point. They're playing a totally different movie than the stuff by the numbers where they set up characters. No one's safe in this.
Yeah, they're. I think that's what's shocking. The person you start this movie with going off the two murders is not the person who makes it through the movie.
Mm-mm.
And I think that's what's so shocking too. It's like, okay, if that person's not safe, then no motherfucker is safe
Yeah,
in this
that
movie. Like everybody, and that's the thing too. Like people make, like, I've seen people make a big deal out of Kevin Bacon's characters. And I pointed this out. So you gotta understand, Kevin Bacon was not a star at this time.
no,
Like,
that's probably maybe his first film. I'm not really sure.
well, I think right before he does that, I believe he's in Animal House. I,
Oh, okay.
I believe, but you're close. I think Friday the 13th is his second film, so
Mm-hmm.
he's not. It's not like he's Footloose is gonna be
Four
coming,
years, yeah.
but again, he's not a big name star. Now he's gonna star in Tremors, another horror movie,
Oh, yeah.
which is a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
But with this, it's like sometimes you have to tell people, yeah, Kevin Bacon, yeah, he's not a star in this movie, so he's fair game. And trust me, the main character, who they laid groundwork with and they introduced to you and they were sweet talking you into, yeah, that character got 86 real fast.
Yeah.
What did you think of that, Daniel?
Well, Kevin Bacon being in it.
Yeah, that and the character we spend some of the time with, she gets killed real quick. What did you think?
Um, I would like you said, Kevin Bacon wasn't really as big of a star back then,
Yeah,
but I thought his character was okay.
yeah. I think all the characters are interesting in this movie. But what did you think about the girl getting killed?
Um, she seemed okay too.
Yeah, she's she's the first person who meets Crazy Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a death curse. Like, oh Jesus! Like he's like, shut up. I like how what Mark posted on Twitter. Shut up, Ralph.
Yeah, exactly.
That hey, you were talking about the one named Annie, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Actually, I'm kind of surprised they used that with Annie being a character in Halloween as well.
yeah.
Oh
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I did think her death was creative too. Where you see her throat get slit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In
Wait,
the woods too. Go ahead,
that's
Daniel.
true.
Fuck.
She
Mm-hmm.
said something that's kind of weird to me though. Like I get what she's saying. Like she said she hates when people call children kids because it makes them sound like goats. For those that don't know, a baby goat is called a kid, but I thought that was weird because that's what I usually call children.
Yeah. I take it that Annie is from a farm. That she's used to country living. Because
Right.
here's a woman who's hiking with a backpack on. That she was again. I don't want to say she was the most experienced person for a camp, but she seemed to be very ready for it in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Now, when you throw a killer in the mix, well, how much are you really going to be ready for?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but and here's the thing too. I think it shows right away. You're showing the difference between here's the town. When she says, "Is it Camp Crystal Lake?" They just look at her like, "What?"
That's like the Myers house. Anytime you say the Myers house, every town's got a haunted house. This is a whole campground place where there's been a lot of bad things that's happened. So this is this town's Myers house.
Yeah, they're just looking at her like, yeah. And then the driver says he's going up to the crossroads about halfway. She goes, "That'll be fine." And then after meeting Ralph, the trip up there, he's like, "Your boss tell you anything?" "Oh, then I'd be working with a couple kids. And he's like, "No, no, 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 about what happened up there." It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
She's like, "No," and she's like, "What? You're not telling? What are you not telling me?" He's like,
Mhm.
quit now."
Yeah.
I literally think if she would have quit, he would have turned back around and dropped her off in town.
Oh yeah.
I
I
think that's, you know,
hmm
I
And I think
think,
it's funny that he only went like halfway there, and then he stopped and turned around. He wasn't going any closer to than that.
no, he wasn't. And he's telling her, he goes, there were fires, there was poison, there was murders, and no one knows who did any of them. And it's just like, man, that beat me up like, dude, you've convinced me. Turn the fuck around. Fuck
Yeah.
it. This, like, no camp. I don't give a shit is worth any of that. It's like, you know what? Ah, I'm good. But she just goes and then she gets killed for it. Gets her throat slit. What did you guys think of the character of Bill?
Um, he seemed okay. I know I keep saying that, but.
Sorry. Well, he was the guy who like cut the snake in half. Cut the snake. Oh, one of them. I think one of them did. I'm not sure if it was Bill, but I think it was. But he was the one who knew how to work the generator.
hmm
And I think it's real funny when him and the other girl, Alice, I think is her name, discover the blood and stuff. They're wanting to call, and then they realize the phones are down. It's like, okay, you realize the phones are down, you see blood, you can sort of draw that something's going on, and the generator cuts out again. Is that a guess? And you're gonna leave that cabin, dude? Dead man walking.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
What did you think about it, Mark?
Um, I I guess I didn't really have any, strong feelings towards him either way. I mean, he was there, but I mean, he had a purpose. Like you said about the generator, and he lasted longer than Kevin Bacon did. So, but it was something, because he was a pretty handy guy, and how this middle aged woman could beat him so brutally was for me. He was more set up for the power that Betsy Palmer had.
Yeah,
For me, Voorhees.
yeah. What did you think, Daniel?
Um, I'd say I didn't really have much strong feelings from either.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think with Pamela lure Pamela lures him out by cutting the generator or whatever,
Mhm.
and it's just like when you know he's gonna die, it's like God, this woman's about to be alone with a psychotic killer. It's like the shit's gonna go down,
Mhm.
and I'll tell you, there was a girl in this movie too, another girl who I thought was gonna be at the end of this. It's Kevin Bacon's character's girlfriend, and she
Mhm.
says she has a dream about where it's raining really hard and it's raining red. It starts they're raining red. What did you guys think of that character?
Um, I know I keep saying this, but yeah, I don't really have much to say about her.
Yeah, God, Mark.
She was cute. I'll give her that. She was cute. But yeah, I thought it was something like, you think that that's really going to, where she's having a dream about something. When you're watching this on the first time, you're thinking, is this, going anywhere?
I'm sorry.
Um, but you're thinking, is this dreaming thing going to come back? What's the point of this? And yeah, it has nothing to do with anything. She's just gone.
Yeah, it's like I'm thinking, okay, and it's getting ready to rain at the camp too. Like, so is she gonna connect this to something? Nope, she's just dead, and it's like, oh Jesus, they're just. What did you guys think of Betsy Palmer's impersonating a kid?
Oh, that was actually pretty impressive because I actually didn't know that was her until you actually told me.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She pulled that off well, because I thought at first, the first time I watched it, I thought maybe they like did an audio dub of a little kid saying it or something, but I was like, no, that was all her. And she did great. And just thinking that she was so, it's like she was in control of what she was doing, but at the same time she was so far gone that she was imagining a little kid doing this and telling her to do this and to get someone and to kill someone. And, it's like she was having conversations with herself and with this child voice she was hearing. I thought Betsy Palmer, again, just totally, totally ruled this movie. She was fantastic.
yeah. I got to give a shout out to, and not that he'll hear this, to my former fifth grade history teacher, Mr. Lies. He told me that he said, he goes, do you know? He goes, I was telling him about horror movies. He goes, have you ever watched Friday the 13th? I said, yeah, I love it. He goes, did you know the kid you hear is Betsy Palmer? She used to do Peter Pan on Broadway. And I'm like, no. So he told me that. So you will learn something from your teachers in school, kids.
Listen to your cool no horror movies.
Well, he was teaching history class. He would show us movies. So I remember he showed us a
Nice.
boxing. He showed us a boxing match once, which was really cool. Um, which it was actually he showed us all three Ollie Frazier fights, which was
Oh,
awesome.
nice.
Which was awesome. That's something I'll never forget. It's like holy shit, those were fights. But uh, we also got to see what's the other one? Oh, he showed us Ollie and Forbin when Ollie used the rope-a-dope. And I said,
Oh, wow.
when I went to go see Ollie in theaters with Julie, I said, did you know I watched this fight? She goes, how did you watch it? I said, I watched it in history class. I said, our teacher, former teacher showed it to us.
So cool.
So it was really cool to see that. But yeah, he told me that, and I'm like, no, I didn't know that. So it's really it's nice to see actors and actresses get to work their craft in a horror movie
Mhm.
where they actually get to perform. It's not just about the deaths; it's about the art of it.
Mhm.
And I think that's something Friday the 13th. Yeah, Halloween has a lot of great art death to it.
Mhm.
But Friday the 13th, I dare say, has a tad better. Just because Betsy Palmer gets to execute it and execute it the way she gets to lure these people out of their cabins.
Mhm.
And really, really good.
Mhm.
What's your favorite special effect in this movie?
I know this might sound weird, but my favorite special effect is when Jason actually comes up for the water in Alice's nightmare. I thought
Yeah.
they did a really good job with not only Jason but with the bugs on his back.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. Yeah, I think was this. I I know Friday the 13th, pretty well. Was this Tom Savini's makeup?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Huge shout out to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ari Lemon looked great as this rotted corpse of Jason. They did an amazing job.
The one scene in the movie that steals the entire movie, and it's Jason coming out of the bed. I gotta agree with both of you because
Mm-hmm.
it's weird. This whole movie, and I've talked about this with Friday the 13th. I said, when Jason became the image of Friday the 13th? At the end of the original movie. Because the moment he popped
Mm-hmm.
up out of that water, no one remembered anything the fuck else.
Nope. Nope.
Like, it didn't matter what Pamela did. It like okay, she did what she did, but none of that shit mattered now. Because
Mm-hmm.
now you introduced a whole whether it was a dream or not, you introduced a whole new character by the end of this movie.
Oh yeah. Oh, I think I actually made an error. 'Cause I said he had bugs on his back. He actually didn't. But he was rotted. But so
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, people probably know what I meant. But yeah, just correcting that. Just let people know I do make mistakes sometimes.
It's all right, dude. You're all good. What I like how they did the makeup though with the kid because it's like in that boat when you see the cop, it's like this woman's been through hell. What more can she been through? Oh, let's throw a dead kid out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a weird question. In Friday the 13th, the cops, they're not really to our knowledge, they're not really investigating the previous two murders that happened.
Mm-hmm.
They're going up the camp to more crack down on the counselors. The one cop comes up there looking more for Crazy Ralph. They're more worried about the town crazy than they are about a killer. What's
Mm-hmm.
up with what is up with small town cops, guys?
Yeah, that's actually a question.
Just, is it me?
Oh yeah, I don't think it's just you actually.
I don't know. They've definitely got their quirks. Uh, I don't know, man. But yeah, I think they definitely know Ralph and know that when he gets drunk, he wanders up there and causes trouble,
Yeah.
and he's, I guess, like sort of like Otis from the Andy Griffith Show. They just, they know Otis, and they know he's always going to end up in jail no matter what. But um, it, it was something, after Alice has killed Pamela and she goes out on the water, and you see the cops, coming, and you think, they're not looking for Alice. They just know that they were there looking for Ralph to see if he had come up there.
Yeah. They're they need to make a parody with the guy who plays Cork, dressed as Cork, and they're like, the cops try to give him Latin. I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't accept Latin for people who can't arrest a killer. No, no. Your Latin,
Exactly.
your Latinum is not your press Latinum is not good here, sir.
Right.
You know, it's interesting you say that because I actually thought of an idea. If they ever do another scary movie, they should actually have Kevin Bacon reprise his role, but instead of a serious character, like he starts dancing to Footloose.
Nice. Nice.
Get Kevin Bacon. Get you the two who they need. Get Tobin Bell be his dance instructor.
Oh, that'd be pretty funny.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Kevin, wrong formation, son. What the fuck? Oh my god.
Like, you know how we're talking about, Jason rotting, and that's our favorite, all of our favorite special effects. Do you guys remember him having like bugs on his back too?
There was something I want to say. I could be wrong. It looked like I want to say it was just rotting skin, like loose skin. I could be wrong. It may have been bugs. Again, you know what? I'm gonna go again and rewatch Friday the 13th because
Oh yeah.
And that was so well done too, because I mean it was playing this peaceful music. As far as we knew, the bad guy was dead, and it didn't set up a jump scare that anything was going to happen. Cops were coming. It was playing this slow, peaceful music. As far as we knew, the movie was over, and then just out of nowhere, he growls and he flips the boat over. That was so well done.
Oh yeah, I agree. It was well done.
Good surprise.
That's what's kind of weird because apparently Jason wasn't supposed to become the killer, but the ending kind of sets him up to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, too, I think when you watch part 2 and you're going back to 1, you got to remember, like, the original has so many different time periods. The camp counselors are killed like sometime after Jason's drowning.
Mm-hmm.
But it's probably the last thing that gets done outside of the poison and the fires. And then there's 1980. Well, 1980, Jason's not going to be a kid anymore. He's going to be an adult. So when Jason comes up out of the water, and we know that's a dream now, it's like, okay, so, and here's the thing. They never found, the police say at the end, we dragged the water. There was no body in the water. There was no bodies in the water. If Jason drowned and is at the bottom of the lake, his body's still going to be there. It may be very decomposed, but his body's still going to be there. Somebody fucked up that kid's death.
Yeah. I think, if I remember right, I think Miss Voorhees said that it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Jason would have been maybe 25, 26 roundabout, I guess, by this time.
Yeah, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
He's goddamn Jason being 25 years old. Jesus. That's the thing too. Like, so in Friday the 13th Part 2, when you see Jason, like he's starting to kill everybody, and it's like you get into the Legend of Crystal Lake. Well, Jason. Now everybody's getting into the legend of Jason. Well, Jason's alive, actually. When you get into the definition of drowning means you can drown, but somebody can actually resuscitate you. And yeah, well, that person did drown, but they didn't die.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
that's
true.
that's what's weird about it. It's like we're told Jason drowned. It's like, okay, but did Jason die?
That's
Right.
actually another question I have. Well, that's another thing I think is weird about this franchise because apparently Jason actually went and lived in the woods. So why didn't he ever tell his mom that he was alive?
Well, here's the thing.
Or show her actually.
Well, no, did she did she know he was like Pamela is supposed to be someone who's in between her mind and in between not her mind.
Hmm.
So when she is mimicking Jason's voice, going "Get her, mommy, kill her," how do we know she hasn't been in that woods with him and he's helping coax her?
Hmm.
Why did I think about that?
You know what I mean? They tried to kill me, mommy. Jason could be a sick puppy.
Hmm.
Oh,
And
Oh,
go
good.
ahead, Daniel.
Oh, do you think he actually was pushed in the water, or do you think like he drowned another way? I know in Freddy versus Jason, it does show him getting pushed by other kids, but people gotta remember that was a nightmare too.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think I think he went into. I- It's weird because you can be in the water, you can be standing on the dock and lose your balance. I've seen it happen.
Hmm.
So I want to say he accidentally lost his balance and went into the water. And again, was anybody around? Who the hell knows? Pamela says there was, but I mean, can we take Pamela's word?
Well, that's true.
Point?
Yeah, I'm not sure, like, because it seems like it go either way, you know.
Right. What do you think, Mark?
I don't know. It kind of adds some layers to it because you're trying to figure her out, and it's like she's so like hyper intelligent to do all these kills, and she knows what she's doing, where she's hiding what she is, and she's so good at it. But at the same time, she's like absolutely insane. She has these moments where she's either genius or completely insane, and I guess in my mind, I keep wondering if she circles around to those first two counselors that were supposed to be watching Jason. And like her mind just can't break out of that moment. So she kills anybody that imagining like she's killing them again. Kind of like I've heard people say that's what Michael does with his sister. Just a
Yeah.
theory.
Every woman's Judith.
Yeah.
That actually makes sense because, you know, she even says, "You let him drown."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Great,
Mhm.
great observation, Daniel.
Oh, thanks.
Uh, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the floor. Is there anything you want to add?
Oh, I don't know if this is confirmed or not, but I have read this. You know how, you know, Alice decapitates Pamela? I
Mhm.
have heard the machete she uses is actually the same machete Jason uses.
Yeah.
I'll believe it. I
Oh,
believe. Well, at
okay.
least it knows it works and it's sharp.
Well, that's true. Oh, another thing I want to state is I remember reading somewhere that Pamela wasn't given a first name until Freddy versus Jason, but that's actually not true because if you watch Jason Goes to Hell, the news guy says Pamela Voorhees.
Hmm.
Yeah. I want to say I could be wrong. Don't did they mention her first name before that?
I'm not sure.
I want to say her first name is on her headstone. I could be wrong in one of the movies.
Yeah, and that maybe in that shrine thing that Jason has set up in part two.
I don't know. Again, I don't know. I'm old. We're old,
Mhm.
so our AARP cards are showing.
I'll have to watch this again.
Yeah, I know.
Mhm. And
Honey,
and go ahead. I'm sorry.
you know what we're doing tomorrow? We're watching Friday the 13th.
Nice. And for me, this is more fun to watch the second time
Yeah.
because you see how crafty Pamela was, all this time. Once you find out that she's the killer, it's more fun to watch the second time. And to get ready for this one, I watched. I have the uncut version of Friday the 13th, so that's the version that I watched before we talked about this. So I think I'd highly recommend it.
Yeah. What do you guys give this movie? 1 out of 10.
Oh, I'd say an 8. Oh, you know what? I'll go with an 8.5 actually.
There you go. Mark.
I'll stick with an 8 out of 10. Um, I think it. I mean, it seems like you know, it once Betsy Palmer shows up, it's just it all makes sense and all makes it just awesome.
I,
So,
I'm I'm gonna
yeah,
give this
I've got to give.
I'm gonna give this a 10, guys. I love this
Nice.
movie. I think the reason I give it a 10 is growing up, and Mark, you could attest to this. We all heard, "Oh, this was just ripped off of Halloween," and then when you watch it, it wasn't really. And I think
No.
that's, you know what I mean. I think, again, I'm not taking anything away from Halloween. Halloween's a great movie, but I think
Hmm.
Friday the 13th is right up there with it.
Hmm.
You know?
I agree. The only thing I take off points for is because other than the girl Annie and Alice, I didn't really know anything about anybody else. But at the same time, that was kind of a cool thing because just when you would get to know somebody and stuff, it was like, nope, we're not keeping them around. You know, we're pulling the rug out from under you. This is all a red herring. We're totally going to screw you up, screw your mind with this. So yeah, I mean it's to me what its weakness is also one of its best strengths, where it plays with you and uh, just plays by its own rules, and I love it.
Yeah. I think too that all the people that get killed off, it's like you're sort of expecting Alice to just die off at the end.
Hmm.
And that's the thing too. When you first watch this, it's like, well, all those other people got killed. Like, but then she just lives, and it's like, I think that's the one thing too. Friday the 13th deals in luck, bad and good, and Alice lucked out in the end. I mean, so
Hmm.
is there anything you guys want to add before we go?
Actually, I did have one more question. I know you mentioned how people say it's a ripoff of Halloween. Do you think it was partially inspired by Psycho as well?
I'm more seaside. I do sort of more see. You and I talked about this on Messenger before, and I appreciate that because I love your insight on Psycho and Friday the 13th. I'm with you that this to me is more of an homage to Psycho than Halloween,
Hmm.
because when you watch Psycho is if you're watching Psycho for the first time, it's a bit of a who's doing the murdering? Is it the woman? Is it the mother? Is it the son? We don't know. So I think when I look at Friday the 13th, I sort of more look at Psycho than I do Halloween. Sure, all three films have one great thing in common too. They all three have a great score,
Hmm.
but they all three have different settings and different killers. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree with you.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's hard to make an outdoors stuff happening in the daytime horror movie, and
right,
this really well with it.
right, that's the thing too. Like a lot of the things that, hell, some of the murders are committed in broad daylight. Like
Yeah.
the girl I mean, she gets killed in the woods, but it's daytime.
Yeah.
And it's like They say the cook never showed up. I mean, and here's the thing: you don't hear Steve Christie say shit about it. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, aren't you like concerned at all? That's sort of what makes him a suspect too. It's like, dude, your cook just no showed.
Yeah. Yeah. So there, I mean, there's a lot to pick up on the second time you watch through it, through this movie. So yeah, I had more fun watching it the second time and every other time than I did my first. Just seeing and appreciating, all the good stuff that they had that I missed on the first time.
Yeah, it's a really great watch. It is. I mean, you will not get bored with this movie either. Watch.
No, and uh, I think Friday too. That's my favorite one out of them. Is a great follow up to this. So, and
How
think I think they said that 1 through 4 is all the same weekend, but just at different parts of the camp.
man, how pissed were you that they killed Crazy Ralph off in part 2?
I wasn't pissed, but I personally thought they killed him off too soon.
I um I wasn't upset about it, but I thought that it was kind of cool because, I guess you would think that if Pamela's not doing these killings, then, you see Ralph up there at the camps. Do you think, okay, so Ralph must be doing these? And it's like, nope, it's not him. It's not who you think.
I was sort of like, because this to me is sort of like their Loomis character to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the one thing Friday the 13th said, you know what? We're going to kill him off. And you're not going to have a guy to warn you no more. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, shit. It shocked me is what I'll say when I first watched it. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Crazy Ralph, we love you, buddy.
Absolutely.
Actually, he did do the voiceover, I want to say in, what was it, part 6 or 7, I think.
I'm not sure.
When they did the voiceover where they said Jason can't be stopped, you can't, like, there's a guy doing the voiceover. I think that's the actor who played Crazy Ralph doing the voiceover.
Okay, cool. I'll have to go back and watch that because I binged these like in a couple of days about 4 years ago. So this has been my first time, other than part 2 and 3, like going all the way, starting to go all the way through them again.
Man. Cool, cool, cool. Guys, it has been a blast. Thank you both for coming on and talking Friday the 13th with me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us on.
You're
You're
welcome.
welcome. I agree with Mark. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Let me stop recording. I'll talk to you guys here for a bit.
All right.